I will be recording this and posting it. So if we don't get Gerald on, he'll at least be able to watch it later on. I'm showing about 7, 8 others that said they were going to be on that have not signed on yet. So I am going to share my screen and we'll get started. If you have questions, put them in the chat room and I'll try to stop after every section and give you a chance to ask questions or catch up. Again, thank you all for joining us on this wonderful Friday the 13th of November. And here we go. So what we're going to go over today is a little history of the organization, a little about our vision, our mission, kind of the who, what, why, where, how things, who we are, what we do, how we do it, how do you get involved, and what the leadership is of the organization. So Pro 15 was incorporated in 2000, so this is our 20-year anniversary. It was originally incorporated as Progressive 15, and that was because the group wanted to be progressive rather than reactive in the things that we did for our region. However, in the last 5, 6 years, progressive kind of became a barrier as far as a name for our organization, and the board shortened it to Pro 15, even though we're still incorporated as Progressive 15 and we didn't go through all of the changing of the name. It was started basically by a group of commissioners. As I said, Mike Harms from Morgan County, Jerry Allen from Cheyenne County, Dean Wingfield from Yuma County. All of those were the ones that started it. And they did it because there was Club 20, which is our sister organization on the western slope of Colorado. And Action 22 had formed about 2 years before us, and they covered Southeast Colorado and the San Luis Valley. And all of them represented rural interests. And they were concerned because as we lost more and more legislative people within the Colorado House and Senate, there was not a big voice out here. So that was kind of why it was started. A lot of people wanted to know, well, then why did you include Adams, Arapahoe, Douglas, Larimer counties? They were included. Number one, a big part of their landmass is rural, but they also had closer into the Front Range huge urban populations that had a lot of representation at the state level. And so Melanie Worley at that time was a commissioner in Douglas County, one of our first chairs. It became a factor that we needed to educate the metro counties on what our issues were because they had the voice, the votes, and the legislators. And so that has become a big part of what we do, while our focus still remains rural. So vision, mission, purpose, objectives, these have kind of remained the same over the years. Oops, clicked one too many times. Okay, So the kind of the purpose of the organization is to develop positions, policy, and resolutions that we can then use to advocate and affect legislation and policy. We're there to inform and alert our membership on issues of regional concern. I was just in a Zoom call before this meeting on immigration and H-1 visas, which is very important to our ag communities out here. We're here to build an active, diverse, and renewable membership base, promote, develop, and improve coordinated action, or through coordinated action, a harmonious relationship among our member counties. Build partnerships with other groups, organizations, and entities that can bring our issues of Northeastern Colorado to the forefront. Educate, advocate, and partner with our urban and suburban partners about rural issues. This is the big one, is that we're nonpartisan. I think that Gerald just got in, and he's a new commissioner from Morgan County, or for Phillips County, sorry. And Julio, who is with the I-70 corridor. So those are a couple of new people on the call. We are nonpartisan. This is probably the hardest part, because let's be honest, we're basically Republican territory out here. But because we do not advocate for candidates at the state or the federal level, it's a little easier to be nonpartisan when you look at the legislation based on how it affects the economy of our region, rather than looking at candidates. So that part is one thing that we are very much a stickler on. At one point, I had to stop putting who introduced the legislation on the things that went out, because it was like, well, if so-and-so is introducing it, must be okay. And we really wanted to look at what it did to our region, not who introduced it. We are a resource center.
Yeah, I told them we need to do that.
We are a resource center. I've got contacts for almost every state and federal agency that you have. And the other thing we have going for us is we have access to state and federal agencies and elected officials, which helps us as we're trying to spread our message. So how do we operate? Our staff is one person, and that's me, and I'm a contract employee. So Pro 15 doesn't have to worry about unemployment, insurance, matching wages, or any of that. There's a flat contract that pays me, and most of the operational budget comes out of that contract, except when we're looking at extra things that I might do. So all the operations are based out of my home here in Fort Morgan. We operate basically on about a $65,000 a year budget, which limits a little bit on what we can do. And like I say, the office is in my home here in Fort Morgan. So I have a Western Pro 15 office, which is at the Pepper Pod in Hudson. And then the rest of my offices are basically in coffee shops around the region. Meetings, I'm going to tell you what we normally have that didn't happen this year. I don't foresee it happening next year. But usually we have 2 to 3 what we call summits each year. And we combine them with board meetings so that, you know, we're doing everything in one meeting. The summits are usually based around a specific subject, something that is really relevant at the time of the summit. So they're not always set a long time ahead of time as far as what those things are going to be. We generally have a meeting in January, February, which we call the Voices of Rural Colorado, and we join with Club 20 and Action 22 to host all of our legislators, bring in speakers. This has always been a great event. We usually have a reception at the governor's mansion. We usually, as a Pro 15 group, take Jerry Sonnenberg and Rod Pelton and Richard Holtorf out for a meal one night as we're going through this thing to kind of touch base with them. But I do know this year Voices of Colorado is going to be virtual. It'll be about 2.5 hours in the morning for 2 different days. And we just started doing the planning on that. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. The other thing we have is our fall conference is always the 3rd week in October. And that is our really big meeting. We just had our fall conference and we did a virtual meeting, which seemed to work out pretty well. And then in December is always our board and leadership team planning meeting for the next year. Some other things that we do that we started doing not only to honor people, but to kind of bring some resignation to the region, is Alumni of the Plains Awards. And those go to people who have graduated from high school in one of our 15 counties and then have gone on to do something either in their communities, in the state, at the federal level, or in the case of our one gentleman, the astronaut from Burlington. He went beyond this earth to bring fame and recognition back to northeastern Colorado. I think the other one that I like to highlight is from Hugo, and that is the trainer for the Denver Broncos. And all of a sudden names are escaping me, but Danielle, who's the Burlington astronaut. Okay, we'll go on. The Legislative Hall of Fame. This is people that represented our 15 counties at the state or the federal level, elected officials, and they have to be then out of either state or federal politics when they get the award. So I'm guessing Cory Gardner will get an award this time. When he left the state level and went to the federal level, he didn't get an award. So they only get it once they're out of politics totally. And the High Plains Award, we've only given this 3 times, but that is to a person or business or entity that kind of shows the grit and the what it is to be a High Plains person or business. This year it went to the Bank of Colorado, who started their banks up when the savings and loans were going out of business, and they started buying those up and have built quite the banking system while still keeping it very locally based and decisions at a local level. Any questions? Trying to see my chat room here and I'm not seeing it. Okay. So who we are. This will show you the 15 counties that we have. Thank you, Danielle. Mike Lounge is the astronaut from Burlington. So this map shows the 15 counties that are part of our area. I like to say we're bordered on the west by I-25 and on the south by I-70, though some of these counties are a little west of I-25 and a little south of I-70. Douglas County is got some in south of there. So those are the 15 counties that we represent. We are membership based, and we're big on one member, one vote. So if it's the town of Hillrose who is a member, and it is Xcel Energy who is a member, they each get the same vote at the table, because we're looking at a region. We have agriculture, energy, healthcare, education, business, nonprofits, associations, and individuals. The original county with the most members was Yuma County, and I believe they still have the most members of any of the counties, though I have not double checked that for a while. Morgan County had quite a few members at one point also. Yuma County had a lot of members because when they started this, they had one individual that they didn't want to become chair. This is how we work in rural Colorado. And so everybody joined, and for the most part, they've all stayed with the organization. Okay, so what is it that we do? I think my biggest job, and the same with our board, is a process of education. Telling people what we are, what we do, who we are, and why a rural issue might be so important to us, or the education on one size doesn't fit all, those type of things. Once you all have developed the positions or policies or resolutions, then my job is to advocate for it at the state and federal level, whatever that might be. The membership's job is to help develop positions. So I was on a call the other day, and one of the bills that I think Jerry Sonnenberg and Rod Pelton are going to bring forward is making it easier for our local rancher farmer to be able to process meat and go directly to the seller. It was one of the things that happened as part of COVID. Meat directly from the farmer ranch became very popular. So if we support that particular piece of legislation, then my job is to get on board and educate all of our Front Range legislators that represent our area on why this is really important and a good thing to do. We make lots of connections. We work a lot with Club 20 and Action 22. All of our groups are changing as we move forward. So where it used to be that if one thought it, we all thought it, that has not been the case in about the last 3 years. Each organization is changing, their membership makeup is changing, and their priorities are changing. Some of the things that we still, all three are pretty adamant about is transportation and broadband. The other thing we do is a lot of networking. This probably takes up a great amount of my time, but the more we network, the more we find those people that can help us and they know who we are, the better it is for us as a region. And through that networking, we build more partnerships. So the Denver Metro Chamber has been a huge partner over the last few years in helping get transportation funding that was fair to rural Colorado. And there's other groups that are starting to do that also. We have the ability to help shape the future of Northeast Colorado. That's probably the greatest benefit or the thing that we do. And then we have meetings, we have webinars, we have summits, and we have started, because of COVID, what we call a plain talk. And this can be on any subject. Any member can participate. The last one we had was Xcel Energy, and that was very interesting. So we encourage our members to step up and be interviewed on Plain Talk. And we're going to do some more of those and try to do some podcast things also as we move forward. Telling our story is probably the biggest part of the job. After our fall conference, we're even looking at doing some kind of a YouTube video to tell our story out here. So we're trying to get creative under COVID, trying to continue to be a force to be reckoned with. The other thing that is very important for our organization is when we go to advocate for a position, it's a diverse set of members that go in. So if we're looking at a bill, we may have a educator and a healthcare worker and an ag person, and then we might have an association or an individual that is helping carry forward our position and our message. At the state legislature, they'd like that. We're not centrally focused on ag or centrally focused on healthcare. We cover all of them because what's important to ag is important to healthcare, is important to business, and that whole cycle and that whole circle of diverse members is what makes us very strong at the state level. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, I probably should have put this in the reverse order, but actually we start down here at the membership level. And the membership can participate in any of our policy committees. So as an example, the city of Fort Morgan has, I think, 3 or 4 people that they have designated to participate in an individual policy committee, so that it's not always just the membership rep that is the person. However, say you're the city of Fort Morgan and you have 5 people on the Ag and Water Policy Committee, you only get 1 vote. So it still makes it across the board to where no one organization can override the others. Anybody that's a member can be on these policy committees, and they mainly meet during legislative session. We are now meeting by Zoom, and I saw something this morning that they're going to start the session on January 13th, but whether it continues or not is another question. And so I think that the 2021 session is going to be very fluid on the number of days they're at the Capitol and how much legislation and how much budget they have to work with. So we may have to be fluid in how we handle our policy committees. And you can be on more than one as an individual. You know, there's not really any, if you want to be on all 6 committees, you can be on all 6 committees. So ag and water is just what it says, along with anything that would fall under natural resources. Energy is all of the above energy. Business, labor, and that would also include tourism and anything related to business. Health and human services is not only healthcare, but human services when we look at opioid crisis, or we look at suicide in our region, which is becoming a very big topic. Transportation, pretty much what it says. And it's not always about funding, though that's still going to be at the root of the issues. But there's a lot of other things that come up with transportation. One of the things that came up a year ago and then went away was a fee on electric vehicles that are more and more using the road, but because they don't buy gas, they're not paying any taxes on the road. Well, with the ballots in October, one of the things that won is that all fees in major enterprises have to go back to a vote of the people. So now if somebody wants to do the electric vehicle fee, it will have to go back to a statewide vote in order to be implemented. So that is going to impact all of our policies and legislation going forward. In education, we cover preschool through higher ed. So it is a pretty mixed bag in there. So each of these committees, I put together a list of the bills that I am watching that I think impact our area. And then they discuss them and they make the decision on whether they want to support them, they want to oppose them, or it's not a big enough issue that we're going to spend any time on. The last 2 years, everything has moved so fast, we have not been able to put too much in the holding area, the area where we put them and say, we'll come back and look at them again. Also, while I may keep track of them regularly and submit a list, any member can submit a bill that they want us to look at, and any legislator can submit a bill to us. And so we get those from different areas, but the decision is up to the policy committee on what they want to do with it. From there, they let me know, and I take it to our board of directors, who has the final say in ratifying that position. So the board will either ratify so say it's the bill on the allowing the local rancher to process and sell their beef or their hogs or whatever it is from their own place. So that comes through Ag and Water. Committee discusses it. They say, yes, we need this. It would help our northeastern region. I then take it to the board of directors, and the board of directors has to say yes or no on whether they agree with that position. We encourage the board of directors to be on as many of these calls as they can, because this really is a membership-based organization. I have had maybe 2 times where the board would not ratify a position, but basically what happens is it goes back to the committee with whatever information the board has that they don't think the committee looked at, but the committee is the final arbitrator. So they look at this new information the board sent, and they still want the same information. It goes back to the board. It's pretty well guaranteed that it will then be supported. Hopefully we never have one that becomes a knockdown drag out between board of directors and policy committee recommendations. So anything on any questions on that particular, how it works? If there's already a bill that, so last year we made a lot of positions on bills, and because session ended earlier, they never came back. So if they come back this year, we're ahead of the game. And so I can go immediately to advocating or opposing something based on what we have already decided the previous year. And any resolutions that we have in our book, which are all on our website, form the basis of what we do, that everything may not always go through the policy committees. But anything that's new that we do not already have a position on has to go through the policy committees. And then the board actually, from once it leaves the policy committee and goes to the board has 48 hours to vote. Because time is very important as we go through these legislative days. Okay, so how do you get involved? Through committees. And like I say, anybody that's a member, and if the member is a business, any of the employees of that business can be on committees. Through board alternates. Alternates are, we usually like to have at least one or maybe two alternates for each county. That way, if a board member, for whatever reason, cannot attend a meeting, we have somebody there to represent the county in the votes that are taken. And board goes over budgets and minutes and decisions on a quarterly basis. Our board members are chosen by the members in the county in which they are a member. So sometimes there's a little confusion that it's automatically the county that decides. No. If the county's a member, they get one vote, just like the local bank or whoever is members in that county on who is going to represent them on the board. Committee chairs, we always ask for volunteers. We usually have co-chairs, two chairs for each committee. And this is so that if one can't be at the meeting, the other one can. The committee chairs set their time and day that they want their meetings to happen so that they have no conflicts, and then we go forward. The other way is by participating in meetings and our webinars, being on our Plain Talk. This year we've had Senator Gardner, Senator Bennett, the governor, the attorney general, as well as several businesses. This is the closest you're going to get to these people and be able to ask them questions directly. That's one thing that's great about our organization, it is not so large. You're not in, when we have a conference, you're not in a room with 300 other people and you're not going to get to talk to the governor. I guess I wish that we had 300 members, or 300 people attending our conferences, but really you get up close and personal and really get to be involved in a discussion with the people that you have elected. The webinars, things like what we're doing right now, are great ways for education and moving forward. The next one we're going to be doing is in December, and it's called Under the Dome. And one of the things that was decided at our fall conference was that we're going to reach out to all of the people that are elected representatives or senators at the state level that represent our 15 counties. And I think there's about 49 of them. We have by far the biggest number. I mean, we pretty well are 2/3 of what is up there represents one of our counties. But we're going to ask them what their priorities are so that we can try to be ahead of the game. We will also be asking people from the leadership, both minority and majority, and hopefully someone from the JBC, which is the Joint Budget Committee, on what we're looking at for the budget this year. So that's another way of being informed and educated and know what's going on. Sponsorships are great. You get some extra points out of that and some extra promotion for your business. On our budget is totally on memberships and sponsorships. So it's not we're not a grant a group that can accept grants. We barely made it through the highest point of the COVID because nothing that came down from the state or the federal level actually could give us any extra money, but we made it through because we are very conservative with our budget. Another way is testifying. I will put out every so often a call to action. And this is usually on something big, and here lately it's been on oil and gas. And we already know that there's been a bill filed for the 21 election cycle on banning fracking. I mean, a total ban on fracking for the state. So that may be one that we have a call to action, that we ask people to testify, and not just people from oil and gas, but people from all of the other areas out here that know how much it affects our economy. And so when I send out those calls for action, and especially now, it's becoming much easier to testify at the state level because they're starting to put up some technology that allows us to stay home and testify, but sometimes it may include a trip to the state capitol. And if that's the case, I work with you on your testimony, meet you up there. That is one of the things that comes up. And of course, getting involved is helping recruit other members to grow our diversity and our strength, because we're only as strong as the people within the organization. Okay, leadership team. The leadership team is board of directors, one from each county. They make the final decisions by vote. So at least 50% plus one of them have to be in attendance for a quorum. And we have some counties that we have no board rep, or we have no members in that county. And now we're down to two, which is Cheyenne County and Elbert County. We have no members, and we may be losing a board rep in Sedgwick County, but not sure there yet. So we have 15 counties. You take away 3 of them, that gives you 12. So you've got to have 7 people to have a vote. The alternate directors are 1 or 2 per county, and we like to have them attend the board meetings, which now are all virtual, so that they can be aware of what's going on and fill in for a board member if one is absent. They have no vote, but they do have a voice, and we encourage their input as we're making decisions. The other part of the leadership team is the policy committee co-chairs, up to 2 committees or 2 co-chairs per committee. Again, encouraged to attend the board meetings to keep up to date. They have no voice, or they have no vote, but we want their voice at the table as we're moving forward. And then I serve on the leadership team as an ex officio member of all committees and the board. I'm a contract employee. I'm your chief operating officer and your spokesman. And we're going to end with this one, how to keep up with us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube. I've got to get this one. I just started using the YouTube I had set up, but I'm going to get it changed over to where it's a Pro 15 YouTube. But this is where we post all of our Plain Talk things, where we'll post this training session a little bit later today. Email, website, home and office. Like I say, the office is in my home. So that's my home phone number. Cell and text. Warner Street, by appointment only. You show up at my door, it's hard to tell what you might find. I've had that happen before, where somebody came to my door looking for Pro 15. So that is it in a nutshell. And we are going to open it up for questions, thoughts, comments. You guys can unmute yourselves, show us your pretty faces, whatever you want to do. We ended up with 20 out of the 30, so some of them came on a little late, but like I say, it'll be out there. Julio, it's nice to see your face and know who you are. See, COVID kind of cut down on some of my travel time, so it's a good thing we have Zoom now.
I just want to say thank you very much, and it's a good meeting. I appreciate your being here.
Okay, Claudia and Margot, this might have been kind of new to you. Troy, any of you guys with comments, questions?
I appreciate you taking the time to put that together. That was very beneficial to me because, yeah, I am new to this. So just being able to see and hear about the history and how it all became a part of this community and how we incorporated everybody else into it was very interesting to me. So I appreciate that.
Well, and I'm sure that as I get ready to do another one, I will think of something else that I didn't include. You'd think after 15 years I'd have it all memorized, but times do change and there are things that I forget. So, Pam, did you have a comment? I saw your square light up.
No, I'm fine. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay. Gerald, you're the really new guy on the call today. You may have to unmute yourself if you're trying to talk.
I've never known him to be shy yet.
Well, as long as it took us to get him on the call.
He may be gun shy.
Yeah, can't say as I blame him. Margot, I know you've been a member for a long time, but anything that popped out at you that we didn't cover enough or need to cover more? Or?
No, this was a good refresher for me. I've been around off and on, as Patricia was kind of our main person previously. So it was good to have all the info laid out in one place like this, but I don't think you forgot anything I would add.
Candace, any thoughts?
You're going to make me unmute, and I'm not sure where that is, but I'm good. I'm sorry I was late, and I have to get off here in a minute because I have another teleconference today. But I think the slides were good. I think sharing those would be very helpful.
Okay, so one last call for any comments, thoughts?
Kathy, would it be helpful
Like-
to let them know who's on each of those committees, you know, for the two chair people or?
Yes, and we start new every year. So last year we had COVID and I had a whole new computer system, so that made it harder. But I've got the computer system figured out. We still have COVID, but the policy committees will be to where you guys know who's on what committees. And we
Okay.
always send out to all of the membership, whether you signed up for a committee or not, what bills we're going to be discussing. That's why once we get in committee, no new bills can be discussed. They can be added to the next meeting to be discussed then. That way, what we put out as what we're going to discuss is everybody, all the members know. So there's not any, well, you didn't say you were going to discuss that. I would have been on the call. Well, I would have liked to have had them on the call regardless, but trying to make it as fair as we can on, because some of the subjects, you know, I would say 90% of what we look at, our membership is like, go for it. But there's that 10% that are really the hot button issues that you want to make sure all the members have that opportunity.
So, Kathy, this is Melanie. I think I'd like to,
We can't hear you, Melanie.
you know, that's part of my technical difficulty.
Okay.
But anyway, one thing that I would like to say to new members, I think I'd like to advocate for strength in numbers. And I think you'll see that the longer you're with this organization, that you can hear it from what Kathy was saying, with the quality of people that come to participate in the different seminars or webinars that the organization has, the governor, the attorney general, different legislators that we have. It's very interesting to me to see that the more that we band together, the better the strength in numbers becomes obvious to me. So when it's easier to sell to other members that we're trying to bring into the organization, that as long as we band together as a group, the better it is to speak as a collective for what we know is important to all of us. So I think that's one of the things that Pro 15 brings to this group. And I just thought I'd speak up to that.
Thank you, Melanie. Leanne, you've been a member for a long time. Anything that you would like to add? And
who was that, Kathy?
well, I was going to call on you too, Carrie, but you can start, and then I'll go to Leanne close it out for us today.
Oh, okay. I just didn't hear that, and I did want to make just a brief comment. You know, I've been a part of Pro 15 on and off over the last probably 10 to 12 years, and just want to really express the knowledge that I have gained in being a part of Pro 15. Yes, we are a big part of the legislative side of Colorado, but when we have conferences and the topics that are brought forth in those conferences are so educational. And they're always the, progressive, innovative things happening across Colorado and even the nation. And so for those of you considering being a part of Pro 15, yes, you get that legislative piece, but it's also a huge knowledge base for those really wanting to learn the landscape of Colorado and our economies and our sectors and opportunities and challenges. So it's been a huge blessing for me and such a knowledge base to really help me in my career and my understanding the issues of Colorado.
Thank you, Carrie. Danielle, you're one of our original members. And in fact, were you not working for Wayne Allard when you first started? You muted yourself.
Still muted.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. I did get more active at the time that Wayne Allard, I became the area representative for him. I was involved prior to that, but not as much on the committee side. But it's been wonderful to watch it grow. I'm excited to see new members that are always constantly coming in and out, and just the work that the organization does to keep tabs to the membership on the bills. That's very important at the state level because there's always a flurry of them, and I anticipate that will be the same here in 2021. So thank you for all your hard work, everyone, and to you, Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, Leanne, take us home. Send us on our Friday.
All righty, well, thank you. I've been a member of Pro 15 for 4 years. I'm slightly new, but we need your help on all the committees. So we need your input and just being a part of the committees. We have top-notch guests at our webinars and fall conferences. And I just want to thank you for being here today with us. And thank you, Kathy.
And thank you, Terry, for bringing your dog and your cat. Glad you didn't bring them at the same time, but we do allow pets. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend.
Thank you all.
Thank you.